Beatrice Edu. This bulletin is live from our studio here at Adesawe, Kanda, in Accra, and the numerous affiliates across the country. In Tamale, we are live on Kesmi 107.1 FM. Around the world, we're streaming live on 3news.com. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. President Akufo-Addo sacks Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, reassigns Information Minister and replaces him with his deputy, and gets rid of Health Minister Kwekwaji Manu in the latest ministerial reshuffle that has got many talking. Has this come too late, and what would be the impact? We'll bring you full details. Also, Public Account Committee asks Minerals Incomes Fund to provide further and better particulars on botched Ejapa royalties deal after a revelation that $12 million was sunk into the project. Later in this package, a protest to demand reforms in Ghana's football underway here in the capital city. We are live on the ground. Thank you very much for joining us. Now, it is a reshuffle many Ghanaians had called for, particularly that of the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, when over 80 members of Parliament of the governing MPP staged a protest against him. And it seems the President has now listened. But the latest ministerial reshuffle that happened a couple of hours ago did not just remove the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta. Information Minister Kojo Oponkroma has also been reassigned, and Health Minister Kwekwaji Manu replaced with the NHIA boss, Bernard Okoboy. I'll bring you details of that shortly. We'll be speaking to governance expert very shortly on this, but I'm joined in the studio now by Duke Opoku-Mensah. He is with our political desk. Duke, first take us through the list.
So we have the Finance Ministry. There's been a change there. Ken Ofori-Atta, obviously, that's the biggest headline you would like from this. Ken Ofori-Atta leaves that ministry, and it's being replaced by Dr. Mohamed Amin Adam. Antas is popularly called. He used to be Minister of State. At that same ministry, he's been elevated. Health, out goes Kwekwaji Manu. In comes Dr. Bernard Okoboy, who's directly the head of the National Health Insurance Authority. Interior Ministry, out goes Honorable Ambrose Terry. In comes the man Henry Korte. Environment, Science and Technology, out goes Dr. Kweku Efriye. And in comes the lady Ophelia Hayford Mensah. Children, Gender and Social Protection, out goes Laiba Abudu. In comes Dakwa Newman. Local Government Decentralization and Rural Development, out goes Dan Boche. In comes Martin Ejemen Sakosa. Sanitation and Water Resources, out goes Frida Prempe. In comes Lydia Seyam Al Hassan. Tourism, Arts and Culture, out goes Ibrahim Awal. In comes Andrew Ejapa Mesa. Greater Accra Region, out goes, of course, to the Interior Ministry. Henry Korte. In comes Titus Glover, and Joseph Makubu leaves his portfolio as Minister for the OT region, and in comes Daniel Machato. Deputy ministerial positions, and of course Information, Kojo Oponkroma leaves, and then in comes Fatih Abubakar. Information, Sylvester Tete, MP for English Amanfro, interestingly yesterday was in the news for all the headlines.
Exactly.
Has been elevated to Deputy Minister for Information. Local Government and Decentralization, Vincent Ekwasifua becomes deputy over there. Communications and Digitalization, Charles Echampon, who's MP for Lower West Achim, comes in there. Works and Health, two, all the two have been sacked. That is Asay Mahama and Tina Mensah, they all lost their primaries. Adelaide Team MP for Beposo Kwama in Suta is one of the new people. She's the chairman of the Foreign Affairs Committee. She goes to the Health Ministry. Akwesi Akwa, who used to be chairman of the Trade and Industry Committee of Parliament, takes over as deputy at the Health Ministry. Works and Housing, Dr. Prince Amidu Ama, vice chairman of Education Committee in Parliament, goes to Works and Housing as a deputy for Kujo Ponkroma. Lands and Natural Resources, Akwesi Kunedu goes there. Fisheries and Aquaculture, Musa Abdulaziz Ayaba, MP for Mion, takes that seat. Energy, John Kobna Sani, that is deputy, is MP for Mpoho, he takes that seat. And Collins Adoma Kumensa, Ifija Kwabre North, Mr. Education, Kingsley Nyaku, and then Employment and Labor Relations, Dr. Festus Ewa Kofi comes in, then Children, Gender and Social Protection, Dr. Benjamin Setre Yeboah.
So, Duke, we're going to continue with this conversation, but let's cross over to Parliament because we do know that that's where the President sent the list to. Komla Kluche is on the line for us. The Speaker has been making some preliminary comments as well as some reactions from members of Parliament. Komla, what can you tell us?
Well, we are standing orders. His Excellency the President has informed officially the Speaker of this new appointment. The Speaker acknowledged it by reading it to the members of Parliament. In reading it, he has also left it in the hands of the Appointment Committee, or he's referred it to members of the Appointment Committee. Now, what he has asked them to do is to reconstitute the membership of the Appointment Committee. We know that yes, they are still in the process of reconstituting the membership of the various committees. But that of the Appointment Committee, they've been asked to do this quickly so that they'll be able to sit down and then judge the ministers. So Speaker Bazoum has referred to the committee. The committee is supposed to work assiduously on this and ensure that it's vetted and then a report is given back to the floor. No timeline has been offered on this.
Komla, I want you to hold on because we want to hear the voice of the Speaker when he reacted to this earlier. Just hold on, we'll come to you shortly.
Following the reorganization of the government, I am writing to seek parliamentary approval for the following appointments into the executive in accordance with Articles 78, 79, and 256 of the Constitution. A. Ministers of State, Ministry, Health. Name, Honorable Dr. Bernard. Ministry, Environment, Science, Technology and Innovation, Honorable Ophelia Mensah Hayford, MP. Ministry, Information, Miss.
So you just heard the Alban Bagbin, the Speaker of Parliament, running through that letter that he received from the presidency. Komla, we're going to come back to you in a bit, but we want to hear the reaction of some of the MPs in the House, and then we'll conclude our conversation with you. All right, Komla, let's just continue with that conversation. How would you describe the reaction of the MPs to this very reshuffle, particularly from the minority side?
Well, shortly after the Speaker made the announcement, the Deputy Minority Leader, Emmanuel Ama Kofi, reacted by indicating that this is coming, too late. It's really of no effect. That's the stand of him, which I believe is the voice of the minority, even though the clamor has been for so long that the president should change his ministers or he should reshuffle the ministry. It does appear that they think that the 9 months or the 10 months or so that the ministers do have, I mean, it's virtually going to be nothing that will be doing, because they would, according to the minority, they will struggle to even find their feet to settle in before the year ends, and that group would automatically be seeing an end to the tenure of office that they do have.
Very briefly, we were learning that the president also wanted to change the majority leader. Can you confirm that?
There are indications, yet just that we are unable to confirm it. But I haven't seen the majority leader facing little voices in all of these, the whole of yesterday and today. I haven't seen it. But there's talk among the MPs is that, yes, of course, the majority leader is also going to be affected. He'll be moved from the Minister for Parliamentary Affairs and he'll go straight to the Foreign Affairs Ministry. Well, we haven't seen that indication as of yet from the communication that the President has released to the public and to the legislature. If it's anything to go by, well, it could mean that the leadership of the majority would also be much affected, and then we'll see either the deputy will have to go to the leadership, the majority leader himself, or then maybe another person, a new group, might have to come all together. But there are indications that the reshuffle would affect the leadership of the majority.
We'll have to end it here for now with you, Komla Kluche. Thank you very much for bringing us the latest from Parliament. Duke Opoku-Mensah is still in the studio. We'll wrap up our conversation very briefly. Duke, aside from those who have been sacked, there seems to be some permanent damage as well. There were those who were not actually reassigned, about 9 of them. Can you give us that and briefly tell us really what has been the reaction? We just got Komla telling us the reaction from Parliament, but generally.
Yes, well, Minister Kukwajima Menu, Tourism Minister Mohammed Awal, Frida Prempe, Sanitation, Kenneth Foriata, Finance, Dana Boche, Local Government, Kusia Makwata is at the Ministry for Roads and Highways, Dr. Kwekwe Free Environment, Lariba Abudu Gender, and Joseph Makubu Oti Region. All these are leaving. We are told the reason why they are leaving is either because they either lost their primary, are above 60, or they have voluntarily decided to exit Parliament. So that's the justification for. And when you take a look at all of these, they either fall in one of them. With the exception of Kenneth Foriata, of course, it's a different kettle of fish because of the opposition that has met some of his policies
economic
and
issues. Exactly.
Absolutely. So that really looks at that. But if you look at the list closely, there's a crop of young people, average age about 42, 43, coming in. We are told that is the handiwork of the Vice President, who's looking to present a certain fresh face for government going into the 2024 general election.
But the reaction Komla Kluche brought us from Parliament, is it the same we are having generally with people on social media and across the streets?
Well, for some, it represents a new lease of life in government, albeit being a few months to a general election, which the government could win or could lose. And then some are also saying this is long overdue. There's been pressure from the president. But for some of these new people, it's an opportunity for them to gain government experience and bring to bear what they really know and what they really have when it comes to governance in the country. Really.
Thank you very much, Duke Opoku-Mensah. He is with our political desk here at TV3 and 3FM. Thank you very much for bringing us those details. We can now hear the reaction, some reactions from MPs to this very latest reshuffle.
The people of Ghana have called on this president in the last 7 years when it became obvious that some of his ministers were really not performing. It went to the extent that even the majority members of parliament insisted and held a press conference for the president to make these changes before the boat capsizes. It is obvious that the president refused until the boat capsized. Mr. Speaker, it is clear that this has come a little too late. And to say that for 10 months left, these new ministers might not even have the opportunity to settle down and make any impact. So, Mr. Speaker, all I have to say is that these changes is simply dead on arrival.
And you heard Kofi Amabua. He is Deputy Minority Leader there, reacting to the news of the latest reshuffle from the presidency. We stay in Parliament because the Public Accounts Committee there has asked the Minerals Income and Investment Fund to furnish it with details of what accounted for the government's decision to suspend the Ajapa royalties agreement. This was after the fund had disclosed to the committee that it had so far spent $12 million on the project. More on this shortly, but first, a recap of what the Ajapa deal was all about. Private company Ajapa Royalties Limited was incorporated in British Island, Jersey. It was taxed to manage 75% of Ghana's royalty inflow from 12 gold mining companies. It was also to enjoy tax reliefs on transfer of dividends and other concessions that allow it to retain much of the incomes it generates. Now, shares of the company were to be floated on the London Stock Exchange as average inflows were pegged at $650 million. A probe by the Office of the Special Prosecutor got the government to halt the transaction. Now, CEO of the Minerals Income Investment Fund, Edward Nanaya Kranting, says $12 million has already been spent on the Ajapa royalties deal. This covered cost of securing offices in Ghana and the United Kingdom, as well as hiring consultants for the project. Take a listen.
Definitely, because this was an IPO, and as honorable members are aware, for every IPO, consultants, etc. come in. The establishment of an office in the United Kingdom and also in Ghana, etc., come into place. So there have been expenses. The whole idea was for MIF to be reimbursed after the IPO. But as the IPO is now suspended, until that suspension is lifted, we can't move on with Ajapa.
How much have you spent so far in relation to Ajapa?
I'll get the exact figure, but it should be should be around 12 million. 12 million? Yes.
Dollars?
$12 million, right? $12 million.
Okay.
Yes.
You heard that interaction there. Now, the Public Accounts Committee has asked the Minerals Incomes Fund to provide it with further detailed information on what accounted for the suspension.
I believe, I think it was quite enumerated in Parliament, but I don't have the considerations with me. We could look at providing that to the committee subsequently.
Because we need to know why it was put on hold. Then that will help us write our reports. That, because of ABCD, it has been put on hold for now. Maybe it will come back after those considerations have been taken care of. That will help us.
Well
just told the committee that it has been put on hold. So we're also going to write in the report, it has been put on hold. The president said put it on hold, so we don't know why. Meanwhile, we have incurred $12 million. If you convert it to cedi, it's over 100 million Ghana cedis. That can put up a number of school infrastructure in my constituency and your constituency as well. The Renal Unit at Kolibu will also benefit because of 4 million Ghana cedi, the place was closed down. A number of people died.
This is well noted, Honorable Chair.
Once again, you had interaction between the chairman of the Public Accounts Committee and the Ajapa Royalties deal reps who were there to answer questions. Let's cross over to Parliament once again, where Nancy Vukania is standing by with the latest. Nancy, what can you tell us?
Well, today, hello Beatrice, by the way. Today at the Public Accounts Committee, which is an institution under the Ministry of Education, that are answering questions. There's some factions and some features. The UPSA was here earlier in the morning. They didn't have too many flags. But the University of Ghana had been flagged for 15 issues, and some of them include some procurement breaches. The university was actually given a stern warning by the chair of the committee, James Kuchaveji, to clean up its procurement breaches. And Roxanne Daciamefor defended the university a little bit for some of the smaller breaches, but the chairman was quite stern today with that warning. The University of Ghana also has issues pertaining to recovery. There are so many institutions that have taken up property of the universities, including banks, the NCHC, the Barney Hospital, SL Tigo, TASEX, they're taking up properties at the University of Ghana. Even the General Legal Counsel owes the University of Ghana to a tune of $100,000 and over. And Roxanne Dapiam, of course, made a comment, or showed concern for the committee, for the University of Ghana charging US dollars for some of the properties that is rented out to some of these institutions. There was also an issue of the staff who was sponsored by the university to study a PhD in the UK, who has not returned, quote, and owed the university up to a tune of 228,000 cedis and more. Now, the committee has recommended that that case in particular be referred to the IOCO for the debt recovery to go on. There's also a few issues that the Pro-Vice Chancellor, Professor Gordon Awandari, pleaded with the committee to grant permission for a more decentralized procurement system where all the public colleges and the universities can process their own procurement. The University of Ghana Hospitals also has issues with some receivables in arrears to a tune of about 164,000 cedis. Now, some other institutions, the Minka University was also here today. GIJ or UNIMA is currently sitting before the committee. The University of Cape Coast has also come before the committee. So these are the institutions under the Ministry of Education that have appeared today before the committee.
Thank you very much, Nancy Vukania, for bringing us updates from the Parliament's Account Committee sittings. Thank you so much. Now, Tuesday evening rainstorm has brought academic activities to a temporary halt at Ahuia cluster of schools in the Kwabri East municipality of the Shanti region. Roofs of several classrooms have been ripped off and some hearing learning materials destroyed. Homes were also not spared from the wrath of the storm. Ibrahim Abubakar joins us live on the line now. Ibrahim, pressure continues to mount on the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry to act to revive the ailing future global resource mines as the 6 divisional chiefs of the host communities add their voices to calls. Okay, so we don't have Ibrahim on the line. You're still here on the Midday News with me, Beatrice, so to stay with us.
Freezer, yeah, diaba. Adama for diaba, a freezer. Adama, a craftsmanship. Adama, Metamosua, my sorry. Canino, Obo Moasia, a good friend from Nobium Unum and San Last and 9. I don't know what you did was here. Adama for you have someone who said, yet you drew back up a ship will be a high technology. I could for freezer, when Kwan, and once open your 15 letters. No fugum, what you are no fugum. What the bus here, if we be any of us, you have got to say, over Timono. Then we sure say. Shown Tassia. No Masena for Nano, freezer, when up at the freezer.
Dacia, a person does so among Ammoniaji.
To me, Miwasika, to me, but you may not do a some doom. Adama, with that Adama, no, Adama, you can't resist.
Ubenya Adama West Africa for a dream, or baby bear a tongue cry on you. I feel Kayona Kinka in Choya, a dream.
And you're still here on the Midday News with me, Beatrice Edu. Let's go to that story about the storm which has destroyed a number of properties in Ahuia cluster of schools in Kwabri East constituency. Ibrahim Abubakar joins us live on the line. Ibrahim, what can you tell us from this devastation, as it were?
Well, Beatrice, as I speak to you, classroom or learning activities have come to a halt. So now what the students are doing is to try to dry up their exercise books and textbooks, which got wet during the storm. For now, they cannot conduct any teaching or learning activities in the various in the affected classrooms. So they are just waiting on local authorities to take the next step. The school authorities are telling us and they are looking by the close of the week to also do something about it. For the PTA, they have decided to step in quickly whilst awaiting for government to intervene. They say they will put in some temporary measures for the students to be able to go back to their various classrooms and learn. But currently, until the roofings are fixed, academic activities will be interrupted because anytime it threatens to rain, they will have to vacate their various classrooms.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim Abubakar, reporting live from the Ashanti region. Let's go back to our first story about the ministerial reshuffle. Professor Bafwa Jimandria is a governance expert. He joins us live on the line. Good afternoon to you, Prof. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure, Beatrice.
Has this come too late?
Certainly, I'm sure everybody is going to say this reshuffle has come too late, and in fact, too little also. You see, there was a time that the whole nation was ready for a change, and yet the president was a bit impervious to public sentiments and therefore was not responsive to that. We have barely 10 months to go for the end of this government, and I'm sure by June, in 4 months, the campaign for the presidency and parliamentarians will be in full swing. So those who have just been appointed, if they are competing to return to Parliament, for instance, I'm not sure they will even have time to concentrate on the new assignments that they have been given. And even if they are not running for office, I'm not sure they have time to think and renovate or innovate the ministries that is being entrusted to them. So this exercise, though, has been long in coming. I don't think it's not going to make any positive impact in terms of policy changes in the country.
When people were calling for the reshuffle, one of the arguments that came up was that the president needed fresh minds and fresh ideas. If I get your argument, are you suggesting that this could have more negative effect rather than the positive one?
I wouldn't say negative effect, but I'm saying that it's not going to make any positive impact on a new direction for government. As you rightly said, the whole idea of reshuffle is to increase the performance level of government. For instance, if there are certain ministers who are not pulling their weight and some are not performing so well, or they are sick or whatever, you take advantage of a reshuffle to bring in the fresh blood that you referred to. And the whole idea is to revitalize government. Now, at this time of the day, when you have 8 years to rule and you have barely 10 months to go, these changes lose their significance. That's what I'm saying with the upcoming elections. I'm not sure, even if there are fresh blood in this, by the way, I don't even see any fresh blood. The same old people that have been, like a typical reshuffle, they change chairs if you have been dropped, and those who are brought in are all old hands. So in that respect, I'm not sure of what new ideas they are coming to do your work with. So I think it's good. The only good thing I can say is that at least it puts on record that President Akufo-Addo did reshuffle his government. Otherwise, he would have gone out of office as perhaps the only government that didn't do any serious reshuffle. I'm aware of the resignation of those who wanted to run for president, like Alan Shematin and Dr. Sakoto and all. But those were simply replacements. Those replacements were because they resigned. So it wasn't really a reshuffle per se. That's why I'm saying, look, at least it's on record that he has done it. But what he's done is not going to have any positive effect, any positive impact on what for these last few months that are left for the government to leave office.
We'll have to end it here because of time, but that was Professor Bafwa Jimandria, a governance expert. Thank you so much for sharing those views with us. And remember that the march dubbed Save Ghana Football, being spearheaded by a group of journalists and presenters, is currently ongoing, and we'll bring you updates in our subsequent bulletins. But that's how we end the news here on 3FM. Our top story: President Akufo-Addo sacks Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, reassigns Information Minister Minister and replaces him with his deputy and gets rid of Health Minister Kwekwaji Menu in the latest ministerial reshuffle that has got many talking. And you just heard there Professor Bafoji Manduya doubting the impact this would make on the current government, which is about 10 months to buy out. My name is Beatrice. Thank you so much for joining us today. Log on to srinews.com for more news. Have a good afternoon.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3 FM.
Hello, good afternoon. Coming up on Business Daily, inflation resumes upward trajectory as it inches up by 0.3% to reach 23.5%. Ahead, we will hear from government statistician Professor Samuel Kobina-Enim.
Given the relatively higher weight of clothing, which is 6.3 relative to the other components, clothing contributed the most to the non-food inflation that we recorded for the month of January 2024.
Also, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta, relieved of his ministerial duties, will bring you details as Minister of State in charge of the ministry, Dr. Amin Adam, takes over as new minister. Meanwhile, economist Professor John Gachib describes the ministerial reshuffle as too little too late, ruling out any impact on the economy.
Dr. Amin coming does not change anything. He thinks like the finance minister. When I say that, it's not in a derogatory manner. What that means is that he was part of the process.
I am Bismarck Kausa. These stories and others lined up for you. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for your company. Now to our very first story. Ghana's inflation rate unexpectedly rose in January for the first time in 6 months to 23.5% from 23.2% in December last year. This follows 5 consecutive months of decline. According to the government statistician, Professor Samuel Kobina-Enim, the increase in year-on-year inflation was influenced by a sharp surge in non-food items, including housing, clothing, and transport.
For the month of January 2024, food contributed almost half of the overall rate of inflation, specifically 49.0% for the month of January 2024. This was distantly followed by housing, water, electricity, gas, and other fuels that had a share of 9.8%, clothing and footwear 7.7%, and the division that contributed the least was insurance and financial services that had a share of 0.1%. Given that the January 2024 rate of inflation is mainly driven by non-food inflation, we identified the top 5 items among the non-food inflation basket that contributed to the non-food inflation driving the January 2024 rate of inflation. Alcoholic beverages recorded the highest rate of inflation of 39.7%, followed by accommodation services 37.9%, electricity, gas, other fuels inflation of 35.9%, personal care 32.8%, and clothing 23.9%. Given the relatively higher weight of clothing, which is 6.3 relative to the other components, clothing contributed the most to the non-food inflation that we recorded for the month of January 2024.
And that was government statistician Professor Samuel Kobna Enim on the marginal increase in inflation from 23.2% in December last year to 23.5% in January this year. Moving on, Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has been relieved of his ministerial position after 7 years of service in office. The Minister of State at the Finance Ministry, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, has been nominated by President Akufo-Addo as the new Finance Minister. The following three Business News Desk report has more.
The announcement was captured in latest ministerial reshuffle by President Akufo-Addo. Dr. Amin Adam was in February 2023 appointed as the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry after President Akufo-Addo asked Charles Edubuahene to step aside following investigation by investigative journalist Anas Arimeyao Anas. Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam is an economist, energy and petroleum policy expert, and resource governance advocate. He has been playing key roles in the government of President Nana Akufo-Addo. At the Ministry of Finance, he is chairman of the Budget Implementation Committee, chairman of Arrears Clearance Committee, co-chair of Economic Policy Coordination Committee, and member of the Financial Stability Council. Whilst serving as Deputy Minister for Energy, he was chairman of the National Energy Transition Committee that produced Ghana's Energy Transition Framework and chairman of Gold for Oil Committee.
Meanwhile, economist and dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School, Professor John Gachi, says the latest ministerial reshuffle will make no difference. According to him, Dr. Amin Adam's takeover as new finance minister is too little too late and will not have any impact on the economy.
Dr. Amin Anta had been part of the ministry for some time. He participated in the budgetary process. He also participated keenly in the IMF negotiation and further discussions. So this budget is what he's very familiar with. He has no authority to change anything in the budget. This is what the president believes in. The budget is largely the budget of the president, which the finance minister is allowed per the constitution to act on behalf of the president. Therefore, Dr. Amin Kamin does not change anything. He thinks like the finance minister. When I say that, it's not in a derogatory manner. What that means is that he was part of the process. So asking the finance minister to go for him to step in is just like continuation of what have been programmed already. So that is no surprise at all.
And that was economist and dean of the University of Cape Coast Business School, Professor John Gachi. This is still Business Daily with me, Bismarck. Also, moving on to some other stories, motorists across the country have been admonished to get their motor insurance according to the law or face prosecution in the coming days. The Acting Commissioner of Insurance, Michael Ando, gave the advice when he led a team of task force to check for motor insurance on vehicles plying the Sunyani-Kumasi Highway in the Sunyani municipality in the Bono region. The exercise was also used to sensitize motorists on the need for them to get their motor insurance.
Oh, this is just to check the insurance status of motorists on our roads. You know, the safety of pedestrians and other motorists to some extent depends on the insurance status of motorists. And so this is just to check whether the vehicles on our road are appropriately insured. So you know about the motor insurance database. So it's a simple check. We all know the code. It's a simple check to check whether the people are insured, and those who are not insured to give them advice. As you can see, it's education and compliance. We're just checking whether people are insured, and those who are not, to give them the advice to get insurance to protect themselves. Well, today is for education. Tomorrow may be for those who are not complying to face the law. So as you can see today, everybody we have met, those who don't have insurance, we have advised them and shown them how to get insurance. So it's education and sensitization today. Tomorrow will be a different story when they are caught.
And that was Acting Commissioner of Insurance, Michael Kofi Ando. As we mark Val's Day today, the Cybersecurity Authority urges the public to be wary of online scams. The authority urges the public to exercise caution and due diligence When using the internet, over 3 million cedis was lost in online shopping and romance scams during the same period last year, highlighting the need for increased vigilance. Here are some key points to remember.
Valentine's Day is an occasion when people show off their affection for others by sending gifts or items with messages of love. However, malicious actors create fake websites or online shops or impersonate existing businesses on social media, offering heavily discounted packages and items. These scammers mostly send unsolicited emails or messages containing malicious software claiming to be from a romantic partner or a company offering Valentine's Day deals with the aim of stealing personal information. The Cybersecurity Authority is cautioning the general public to be careful of too good to be true deals. Use reputable online marketplace or retailers and validate contact details from search engines to be sure they are genuine. They have also cautioned against sharing personal information with strangers.
And that will be all for Business Daily with me, Bismarck. Also, for more business stories, please log on to 3news.com. Thanks for your company. Happy Valentine's Day.
Accra gets busy on this frequency. 92.7 3 FM.